Evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's me, PD, back with another Carlisle Cult Cinema Club presents, and I'm joined this time again by the legendary, the fantastic publisher of Dark Side, the number one selling horror magazine around the world. What can we say, man? The man's a legend. The man's fantastic. It's great to have him back, and we're going to be talking all about Dark Fest. Thank you for being here, Alan.
Oh, thanks for letting me write that introduction for you, Paul. That was very generous of you. Yeah, it's nice to be back. Because obviously I don't know, the year's gone by so fast, and it just seems like 5 minutes ago we were doing our last Dark Fest, and of course, doing magazines, you seem to be wishing your life away because you're working on, you're in this time of the year, and you're doing your Christmas editions and things like that, and planning books. And the festival's in November, but we had to start advertising it in, I think, the end of August. We started advertising it, and this year we've got every year we have some of the same people, all our Hammer ladies like Carol Ann Munro, Maddie Smith, Pauline Pitt, Martine Beswick, and Valerie Leon, for example. They always want to go along because for them it's like a little yearly party. It's their early Christmas party, they tell me, so they love being there. I've just Jenny's going, don't forget Maddie. I mentioned Maddie at the start. Yeah, that's backseat driver. Anyway, so I said to every year, right, it becomes a thing. Well, who are we going to get that's going to be because you have to have the main attractions who can't just have the same people every year. But the fact we do have some of the same is nice, because most people they'll go year in, year out, and it's like renewing old acquaintances with some of these girls, because they can mingle with the Hammer girls and they can chat to them, and whether they get an autograph or not is down to them. But in most cases, they probably do go down that route. Because it's not that expensive for people to get autographs at our event. It's not like somebody, I was hearing that somebody was saying, some of these events that people are asking. I think there was one where Mark Hamill was asking like $400 or for an autograph, or maybe even more than that. And I was thinking, that's just crazy. It's just mad. So ours are not. Ours are generally about the 15 to 20 quid mark usually. Last year we had Linnea Quigley, and I advised, well, we were out for a curry with her the night beforehand, and I think she was wondering what to charge for autographs. I said, well, if you charge, say, £20 or £25 with a selfie as well thrown in, you'll do it well. And she had no complaints. She did extremely well. So this year we got Adrienne King coming from Friday the 13th, and that's really down to the auspices of my good friends Stuart and Jen Morris, who run Misty Moon, because Adrienne's been tied in with Misty Moon, and I've actually done some on-stage things with Adrienne years back, where she has come over and done smaller events, but this is the biggest thing she's done in the UK. So, and she's got a way to come. So we had to fly her over from Oregon or somewhere, which is not just like hop over the pond, So she's coming quite a distance, and she's really very nice, and she's a great guest. And also when we were at Romford, which is sadly now no longer with the Romford Horror Fest, sadly, although it's hopefully is coming back. I met Cinzia Monreale, who was in the Beyond, and we said, well, we'll think about getting you over. So she's a good one. Susan Penhaligon is a nice new one. She, obviously she's done House of Mortal Sin and stuff like that. She was very famous in the old days for Bouquet of Barbed Wire, for example. This is a program people of my age will remember. And The Land That Time Forgot, of course, which is another favourite. And we've also got this Belinda Main, who she's a daughter of Ferdy Main, who was in Fearless, who was the Dracula in Fearless Vampire Killers, and he's her dad, and she has been in things like Don't Open Till Christmas, which we're showing at the event, so that'll be fun. And also it's nice to have Jenny Hanley, because Jenny Hanley is so sweet, and also it means we're showing Scars of Dracula, which is a double-edged sword, because out there in social media land there are a lot of Hammer fans who go, that is the worst Hammer film going. I personally don't think it's the worst Hammer film going, but yes, it is shoddy compared to the rest of the Dracula movies that have been made. And Christopher Lee wasn't that crazy on it, but I was thinking, Christopher Lee wasn't crazy on Scars of Dracula, but if you actually look at that, it's the film which he gets most screen time in. Gets about 11 minutes of screen time in that film. Whereas if you look at how much screen time he gets in the original Dracula, or any of the others, even Prince of Darkness, he's only on screen for about a couple of minutes or something, 2 or 3 minutes. Maybe that's he doesn't really get much to do or say. So he's in Scars with Dracula the most. And you know what? I think it's going to look really good on the big screen. I mean, for those who haven't been to Darkfest, we do it in the Genesis Cinema, which is one of London's best, if not the best, independent cinemas in London. And it's out in Whitechapel, and it's just a stone's throw from the Blind Beggar, which is where the Cray twins, well, one of the Cray twins, anyway, notoriously killed somebody. And it's kind of an interesting couple area. And as I say, night before the event, we go to Brick Lane, which is just down the road, which is one of the best places for curries in London. And so we have a big curry night beforehand. The actual event itself goes from 11 in the morning to 11 at night. And it has, the thing about it is that when we started it, and this was now, it's 8 years ago now, this is number 7 because we missed 1 year out because of COVID. But when we started it, we were really uncertain whether it would be a success. And everybody was saying, a lot of people who'd done events like this before said, oh, you'll lose a lot of money and that'll be the end of it, And so we thought, well, okay. And bearing in mind, the cinema is really expensive to hire because, I mean, we originally thought we were going to hire one of the small screens because we could have done that a lot cheaper. They've got screens downstairs, which are about 150 people. The big screen, so anyway, when we first started advertising it, suddenly we found we sold nearly 200 tickets. So we thought, well, we've got to have the big screen upstairs because that holds 550 people. And we could have the whole bar area, kitchen area. Well, the last one has expanded, so we've taken over some of the downstairs area as well as you come in the cinema, a lot of the downstairs area. And you've got some of the and the upstairs area is all the upstairs area as well. But our one problem we've had in the past is that a lot of people we recognise it's like after a while, if you're on social media even and you start looking at people's photographs and you recognise them and you go, oh, I'd recognise you if I saw you at Fright Fest or Dark Fest or something like that. And then first year I felt a bit like the new teacher with all the pupils because you've got to recognise them and they come up to you and go and if you met someone before, it's very embarrassing because you start thinking, I know you, I really know you, but I can't remember your name, and then you get it fixed after a while. Worst thing I've ever done is John Hamilton, one of my writers for many years, and he laughed because I was chatting to him at some film fair and I said, what's your name again? He goes, oh yeah, I've only known you for 10 years. And I said, oh yeah, that's you, isn't it, John? So that became a kind of a standing joke with us. But we all get these senior moments or these blank moments. But as I say, getting to know it's so great getting to know a lot of these people who've been names on our subscription list for years and years and years. And some people come from far afield, really far afield. There's a great guy called David Crawford who comes from Scotland, and he's been, I think his life, he's had some problems because his mum's not very well. And I think he's been a carer for his mum for a long time, and it sometimes stops him from coming down. But he will come down a lot of the time, and I just it's just nice. It's like having a reunion and meeting these people and saying, oh yeah, what you've been up to in the last year and things like that. So there's more of that socializing going on. But going back to what I was saying, the first year we did Darkfest, then we realized that it was going to be a big success. I think the thing that changed maybe a little bit as obviously COVID changed a lot in our world all round. COVID did. Yanni and I were saying we're lucky we've never had COVID, whereas we hardly know anyone else who has not had it at all. But I remember our first one after COVID. We took the decision to get a little card reader so people could pay on a card, you know, and that was it was great. It was a great idea because a lot of people had come along and and saying, oh, we don't do cash at the moment because it's like a COVID thing, I'm not passing you cash on, and but then I said there's a cash, because obviously the celebrities come, they don't have a card reader, so they'll if you haven't got a tenner or 20 quid or whatever it is to pay them in cash, then you don't get it, and that's it. Or they have to go out there, but there's cash machines nearby that people can go to where they can do that. Yeah, so that's the thing that's changed about all these festivals, I think. But yeah, I mean, so going back to, we've had some big guests, and a lot of them no longer with us. We had Rogero Diodato, sadly no longer with us. We had some people we just absolutely loved. I mean, Ian McCulloch was so much fun, and we'd have him down again. He has to drive from Scotland though, so every year we have to make that conscious decision because we have to have a certain amount of tables, dealer tables, and we have to have a certain amount of celebrity tables, and of course then I have to time the movies that are going on as well. And we also do this thing called the Slaughter Awards, which we base on Todd Slaughter, and it was because after a while, I mean, I'm sure you're aware of the Rondo Awards that they do in
Yes, yeah.
America. Well, the Rondo Awards are brilliant, and the guy does it, David Colton. He's I don't know where he gets his energy from, really, because frankly, giving out those awards every year, and he's I don't, it's him, and I don't know if he's sponsored or not. I don't think he is, and he gives out so many awards, and they're proper awards because they're voted for by members of his Monster Film Board, and I think they've got thousands of members, so they get thousands of votes. We have this thing where I go out with my friends, the Gentlemen of Horror, and one of them, Eric McNaughton, is one of the prime movers in this anyway, and he said, we should do some awards, and we decided on Todd Slaughter as a role model for us all. And we thought we'll do it. So we've given out these awards not every year. We missed a year. We didn't do it at the start, but we're glad that we got to give them to people who are no longer with us, like Alan Frank, because he's a legend, and also Dennis Mickle, my good friend, who is no longer with us as well. And David McGillivray has had one. So on the actress front, Maddie's had one, and so has Caroline Monroe. But it's also Des Skinn, who was the guy given my first break in writing for horror. And just a lot of people who've had it. Graham Humphrey's a good friend as artists, and Rick got one as well, Rick Melton, because I mean, you could say they're a bit incestuous. They've got that way at times, but I'm not going to give myself one or give Darkside one, but I think the point is that they are there so that we can flag up people who we value in the horror community, and that can be anybody. It can be anyone from someone like yourself doing a podcast to somebody. These are rewards that we sit around and we discuss every year. We think we really should give this person one, an award for this, and we only give, there are loads of people who've won a lot of Rondo awards, because it does tend to be the same. In America, my friends Don and Vicky have won many times for Scary Monsters, and they will continue to win more, because their magazine goes out in more places than ours does in the States, I would guess, and being a local product or whatever. But I think from my point of view, seeing some of these small players who do so much for the UK, it shows then they're appreciated, because it's a great little, community here. It's not like in America, you have something like Monster Palooza, and I mean, I don't know, you have loads of big events that are available in to punters in America. I mean, have thousands of people going. But in our case, this is the other thing I was wanting to come around to. We do tend to have a bit of a worry about people getting in for free, because it's our event. So the people on the door at the Genesis will not stop people coming in, because they don't know, because there's the cinemas downstairs are open. So they could be coming in, going to the cinema downstairs. So as far as we're concerned, a lot of people have been saying, I'm sure people are getting in for free for this. So this year we have done something that I think is going to stop this happening for good now. And what we've done is we've got these badges made up, and the badges are, I'll show you. Look, you can see that. But these are little badges. I proudly paid for my ticket for Dark Fest 7, and so that's yeah, that's a little ticket. It's a nice little ticket. It's a nice little badge as well. They can wear. It's proper. No cheap stuff. No cheap rubbish here. So what we're doing is every time someone orders every time someone orders a ticket, right, they get that, and then I fill in one of those, and that says that's their ticket number and a little message from us, and so they're on the day that they need to wear these on their somewhere prominent, so we can check, so we can just wander around during the course of the day, and if we see people without any badges, we can say where's you got your ticket, and we can always check because we've got a printout of the ticket numbers, so we can see what their name is. But it just makes it easier, because I think last year we want to even though we've got 550 seats, we want to keep the guest numbers to 400, because when we hit 400, I mean, yeah, we made a decent profit, and frankly, if it starts getting too much above that, it might be uncomfortable for people getting to the bar and things like that, because you're in one place, even though it's big places, and there's plenty of room. We've got all the tables upstairs though, as well as some downstairs, and so we need to make room to make sure that people are comfortable, and not feeling squeezed or what have you. Because bear in mind, the films go on all day, so we're showing 6 films this time, just to so a lot of them are tied in with the guests we've got. And it's funny because we're showing Razor Blade Smile, which is have you ever seen Razor Blade Smile?
I have. It's a great film. Jake West.
It's fun. It's fun. I haven't seen it for years, and I remember Jake won't mind me saying this, which I remember thinking it was fun in a terrible way, but it was fun. It was just I think some of the lines in it are just hilariously ridiculous, but it has Eileen Daly in it, who's been a friend of mine for a long time, and she's coming along to this. They did a screening of it at Fright Fest, but she didn't go to that. She's coming to our one. She's got a long way to come to travel, and I'm hoping also Jake will be there. Jake West will be there, and this is a restored version that he spent a lot of money and a lot of time on, so it will look as good as it's ever looked, and it'll be on the big screen. So because even at Fright Fest, it wasn't on a very big screen. This is a much bigger screen, and he's getting quite excited about that, I think. So him and Eileen will be there, and I think Eileen used to be the face of Redemption films, and my old friend Nigel Wingrove, who ran them, might be joining us as well. I'm trying to persuade him. I think he might actually, so that would be good. So it'd be nice to have him there. And other people, because so we're starting with Razor Blade Smile. So I'm trying to think what else we're showing. We're showing Friday the 13th. We're showing The Beyond because of Cynthia Monreale being there. We're showing Don't Open till Christmas, and so we're showing Scars of Dracula. And then we're finishing up with a mystery Hammer film, because everyone, I think all the horror fans know that Hammer's been bought by somebody who knew this very appropriately named guy, John Gore, and they've got these 2 people, Steve Rogers, not the Captain America Steve Rogers, but another Steve Rogers, and Amy Witherington, she's the lovely goth beauty who runs their PR. And she came to our event last year and introduced us to all the Hammer girls. And now their first year, they've been working on restorations of some of the Hammer classics. And I think also what I'm saying, they've been buying back the rights to some of the because one of the tricky things about Hammer, and Hammer fans know this very well, is that they don't own most of their products. So if they've got a film like the original Dracula, and the real classic films, the original Curse of Frankenstein, they'll be owned by Universal or Warner's or someone like that, whoever put the money into them in the first place, and therefore kept because they just wanted the money now. They didn't think about what that stuff would be worth in the future. They couldn't envisage a time when you had Blu-rays and streaming and UHD and all that.
Yeah.
So I think I know that that means, of course, that the films that Hammer genuinely owns are mainly not the really good ones. They're mainly the rather, ones that didn't do that well after they kind of lost the touch, really. But there are still some that are theirs and that are really good. But also they've been paying for restorations, and so what it means is, so you could have, I mean, you could have a restored Quatermass Experiment, or I mean, those are available on Blu-ray as it is. But I think there's a particular film that they're restoring. They've been working on this year, and it's a favourite from the 1970s, and we're screening that with. We don't know what guests. We might be a surprise guest from that one as well, available as well. But we'll have to wait and see. But I'm not announcing it what it is yet, because I just think it's an intriguing thing for people if they want to come along and see, and we'll talk a bit about it beforehand. But this is a really good restoration, and we'll be the first to sort of premiere it. So that's going to be nice as well.
You'll have to let us know what it is when we've finished recording.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, we don't share it about.
You know me.
Yeah, I was at Kim Newman's party, and I spoke to a friend of ours, and his girlfriend works for the BFI prints department, and I said, "Oh, we've shown this thing," and she said, "Oh, I know what it is." And I said, "How do you know?" She said, "Oh, because they checked the print of it out about a month ago." And so I said, "Yeah, yeah." And then she said what it was, and yeah, it was what it was. It's just a fun part of the thing. I mean, the whole thing about Dark Fest is you can, if you want, the punters who go regularly, they know that that chances are they've seen most of the films that we're showing, they'll have seen. We do get the chance to show new films. We're offered. We could easily do new films, but that's not the point. The point is, it's like they can wander in, watch a bit of their favourite film, watch one of their favourite films, come out again, go and go to the bar, have a wander around, the local hostelries or something, and then come back. And that is the fun of it, really. And also, it's different for if you go to a film fair. You get a situation where you might be queuing up to meet your favourite. You might, most people probably go along and think, "Oh, I want to interview. I want an autograph from this person, like Adrian King or someone like that, like Linnea Quigley last time." But but having all day, and having these people right in the middle of a social setup with a bar and everything is so much different from going through a film fair where people are queuing up for ages. You don't need to queue. You just walk around and get them when they're not busy, because it goes on the whole day. I mean, we had Sam Irvin last year, and Sam is a great friend from years back, and he's a great director, and he's worked on all sorts. I mean, he knows everybody. He's like a Broadway Danny Rose of the horror industry. Everyone's probably got stories about him, but he's a great character. And he was the one who got Leonard Whiting over for us for Frankenstein: The True Story, because that's his big obsession. I think one of his big obsessions. He was just saying there's nothing like this in the States at all. He said but I said because it's intimate, and it's not. I mean, we are thinking, in fact, of doing an Infinifest next year, which would be an Infinity one as well, and maybe having sci-fi and screenings of sci-fi favourites and things like that, which I think is a good idea. But maybe do it. But again, as I say, the big expense of the whole day is not getting the guests over. The big expense is the cinema hire, because it's a lot, and but it's worth it, because they are actually very good. I mean, they're very, very helpful, and they're very I think the one thing that was funny was one year, I think it was about second year. Yeah, and he can be a bit like a bulldog sometimes on these matters. She goes, they wanted to charge me for my coffee, and she went downstairs to get coffee, and immediately came and said, really sorry, have as many free coffees as you like. And I thought, bloody well think so, with the amount of money we're paying for this, to rent this place for the weekend. So now we get free coffees all round for all of us organisers anyway. And I've got to say that it couldn't work. Brianni does most of the work, really. People say, "Oh, it's well organised." It's not all well organised by me. All I do is I just work out who's going to be coming. She trusts that I will get the right people, and I, which will attract people. Which will keep the event fresh. It's a bit like shit. because she never think of telling me what to put in the dark side or infinity. So because she doesn't know anything much about that whole genre, so she doesn't know. So I think last year, she's going to be. Have many people heard of this Linnea Quigley? And I said, yeah, in our world they have. I said, but probably not. In down the BAFTAs or something. I don't know, but. So she does. So she's very, very good, and she had because like in our relationship with in our working relationship anyway, she handles all the subscriptions, and I couldn't do them myself because she's done them in such a cryptic way. Like it'd be like me going into an Egyptian tomb and trying to decipher the hieroglyphics on the wall before I got attacked by a mummy. With Liani, she's got this whole setup, which is so she can write to people if it's their last issue, and she can check things up. And if it's me, I'd be so slapdash. I'd probably be giving people free subs all round. But she does the same thing with the Dark Fest. Is that she often complains she's stuck on the table, but she does like the dealing with people because she knows a lot of people who come through herself now. They're friends of ours, and so I tend to wander around socializing and watching bits of the films, so I always get into trouble for that. But I also, luckily, I've got Kevin there, my designer, and his lovely wife Lisa. She's very helpful as well. She's they help me organize it. Kevin really organizes my stuff because he tends to do this thing where he sends me a list. Have you got, like, for example, have you remembered to bring he's made up things like posters and things like that, and these things we put up. And have you remembered to bring a price thing to put on the wall and things like that? And have you done this and have you done that? Well, Yanni always remembers that as well, but it tends to be with both of them coming at me from both sides to tell me, make sure that you don't forget to do this, don't forget to do that. So that's why it appears to be well organized, but it's only the way that they run it that does it. Because once it's, to my mind, it's a bit like they used to say Alfred Hitchcock, when he made his films, he just storyboarded everything beforehand, and then he could just shoot it. And it was nothing. The work was already done. Well, with me, the work's already done before Dark Fest, because a lot of it's like doing the little mini things. Like I'm working on the booklet for it the other day. We do a 16-page booklet, which is like quite a collectible thing. It's quite nice to have. Even the badges are quite a nice thing to have. And we decide whether we're going to have T-shirts or we're not going to have T-shirts. That's a tricky one because not everyone wants to buy a T-shirt, and it costs a bit to manufacture them. So we sometimes do a small run of them for people who want them. But generally speaking, it's a case of once it's all set up, and I do a table plan, which is the biggest joke, because I find I've maybe got 15 tables and 25 people are coming or something like that, and that's where it gets a bit tricky. And Kevin always says, why do you always have so many people here? And I said, well, it's not that. People keep asking for tables at the last minute as well, not guests, because our guests are pretty much tied down, but also there will be people also who are coming who are not necessarily going to be not necessarily going to be sitting at tables. They might be wandering around. And Eileen Daly, for example, which she did last year, she goes to me, "Oh, I'm just wandering around signing people's autographs." And I said, "Well, are you charging for it?" "No, not really." And I said, "Well, you can do, Eileen, if you want." And people, so there will be. I don't know. I leave it up to them if they want to. Some people just wander. I mean, Linda Marlowe's going. And Linda's great. Played Big Zappa back in the day. And she's going, "Oh, I don't want a table. I just wander around doing autographs and things." And, so I don't know. I still don't know how many people are going to want them. My big bane in my life is Rick Melton, because, Rick does our covers. And he and his mate Mike, they every year they nick more of our table space, but they construct this elaborate blooming thing to hold all their paintings and everything like that. And I remember one year, he was going, "You have to move these along, Rick, move them along." And he was laughing because she was having her own go at him for it. But I think they've got. I mean, Rick is a big part of our team as well, because obviously Rick's covers are great. He's been working this year on a book. And it's taken us a lot of time to because unfortunately, my designer Kevin is a brilliant guy. but he's had such a busy year. There's so many things to do that, and he kind of started the year at a disadvantage. I mean, sadly he lost his parents a while back, and that has an impact on all of our lives. And it just with one thing or another, Rick was going to design Kevin's book, but because we're doing these two books ourselves, and because time almost ran out. I think Rick's book is now being designed by Steve Kirkham, who designs a lot of books for We Belong Dead, and he did Sam Irving's books, and he's a safe pair of hands for Rick's book, and it will turn out really well, I'm sure. But in the meantime, it's like Kevin's. We are rushing to get these two books. We've got two books coming up. The first one is the films of John Carpenter, which was written by this guy in America, Chris Ketting. I don't know how he pronounces it. Who's done a lot of stuff for us before, chapters for our books. He came to us with this because it was originally going to be a book that was going to be done with Hemlock Books when Dennis Mickle was around, but they never got around to it, and they wouldn't have done it the way we're doing it anyway. Ours is picture led, it's about 198 pages or something, and whatever, and it's each chapter. It's surprising going through it. And when I was editing it, I was thinking, we'll make it one. Each chapter has in chronological order what he was doing, but you forget like the TV movies like Elvis and Someone's Watching Me or High Rise, and then and it also covers, we have chapters which also talk about his involvement in Black Moon Rising, the Tommy Lee Jones film, and Philadelphia Experiment. But then you forget all the films they did that were really good back in his career. I mean, okay, when you get on a little bit, it seems he lost his mojo a bit with things like Ghosts of Mars and everything. But nevertheless, they're still very. A lot of these are still very watchable. But when you look at the favourites now that we get, I mean, hard to believe The Thing was a flop, and he was really depressed about that. And also, Big Trouble in Little China wasn't really massive. You see that, and you start to look at those things, and you start to see, well, I have to admit that I'd forgotten Starman completely, and I thought, oh, that was a good one, Still the only John Carpenter film that an actor has won it's his only Oscar nomination for any of his films. Jeff Bridges got nominated for it, and so that's kind of interesting, and I think, and it's interesting to there's lots of interesting facts in there. Like Tom Cruise was first choice for Starman for John Carpenter, but he was making Legend at the time, and there's lots of. Also, what I think this guy's done that's really interesting is he's got all the scenes that were cut out of, like for example in The Thing, there were some death scenes for at the beginning, rather than open with the going to the Norwegian camp, you actually see some of the killings take place there, which were cut out in the end because they decided they didn't need to show those, and later on it would be appropriate. But no, this Chris has done an amazing job, and a lot of it is interviews with John Carpenter himself. So I think it's quite a quite definitive book that John Carpenter does. It's right up to date with all his latest musical ventures and things like that. So we're hoping to get that off to press in a week or two, and we're hoping to have that in May. I think at the moment we'll certainly have it. I'm almost certainly have it in before the end of October, which is just as well because we've got the zombie book we're doing, and that's got to be done, and that's got to go to press early November, probably straight away, so we can get it back in time for the festival. So we'll have both books at the festival for sale. And but pre-orders have been amazing on Carpenter and been very good on the zombie book. So that's the way we like to do our books. We don't do, it's our version of Kickstarter or whatever it is, or whatever they call it, GoFundMe, but it's not. We're definitely going to do the books, and our books are not printed by Amazon or anything like that. They're proper. Well, I'm not saying Amazon books are not proper. I'm just saying that personally, I would much rather have control over our books, and then we just go, right, we'll print a couple of thousand copies of each, and when they're gone, they're gone. We have to reprint sometimes. We just reprinted Italian Horrors. That will make a good example. I underestimate too much. So I did 1,000 Italian Horrors. They sold out. did another 500. They sold out. I've done another 500, and they're on their way to selling out. So I wish I'd just done about, well, whatever, a few thousand or something. But it's because, people don't buy straight away a lot of the time. But then if you look at how much these books, the one I regret the most not doing more of when I had the chance was our Thailand Amazing Movie Thailand book, which was which we did 1,000 of, and I thought they're quite expensive, so surely maybe we'll just do 1,000, and they went straight away. And yes, there's people in America buying them for 60 quid each. But now, if you wanted to buy one online, you could.
Just over there, the Thailand posters.
Yeah, it's a great book, isn't it? Though I mean, it's an amazing book. It's one of those books that when I got it in, it was really a great job of design work by Kevin and of writing and research and all the posters sourced by Phil and to be honest, I must admit, when I first got into it, that guys had to say to me, what they had to explain to me why the Thailand posters were great, and I had it in my mind that these were kind of like the Ghana ones, the ones from Ghana, which are really terrible. And I thought, are these like the really terrible posters that? And I'm going, no, these are proper works of art. I mean, anyway. But look, finally, they persuaded me, and it was great. So we're glad we did that. And again, if we may go back and print more, but the way it works is that the less you print, obviously, the more you pay, because a lot of it's just setting up in the first place. So if you do too few, you're going to end up paying so much more. So if you can do 3,000 or 4,000, you're going to have things. But then on the other hand, you've got 3,000 or 4,000 books you've got to store while you're selling them. So it's a bit of, it's a bit of both really. But yeah, anyway, but I do like doing the books, and it's something that we do every year this time. And I'm thinking also, if we get a chance, I'm going to do a best of Darkside and a best of Infinity for the Christmas market, because I like those little bookazine things, 100 pages, some new stuff, some of the really old stuff that's best. Thinking of doing a Spyfire one for Infinity, because I just wanted to fill it up with Bond Girls and Man from Uncle and the Danger Man and stuff like that. Man Flint, Matt Helm. I just think that would be a nice one to do, and do it but do that one in shops, because it's kind of like if I did it in shops, I think we'd have to charge about £10 each for each one. I have to say, because we get about half of that back from the from what the ones we sell, and all the ones that don't sell get scrapped. But I think we'd also sell a lot off the page at £10 each as well. And I wouldn't do it. I don't think I'd do it in the States. I think we just sell them to the States rather than send it all out, and then just do a relatively small print run and just get them out and leave them in the shops for about 3 months and see how it goes. Because I quite like the idea of that. Kevin and I have planned out the Infinity one, but we've still got the Dark Side one to decide on. But you know what? As I say, we do it. We mix it up with some of the best old stuff that we've done. I mean, because going back now, it's hard to believe, but Dark Side started in 1990, and in 2000, when my first partner Ken died when he got very ill, rather, in 2010, I think it was, and that was when the magazine folded, and then we came back in 2011, at the end of 2011. So we're about 18 months out of print. But so since then, obviously, we're talking now about 13 years of stuff, and we certainly, during the early stages of the magazines, it took a little while to build up again. So there'll be a lot of back issues from back then, that we can look at really good stuff from and think we could put this in a special and add to it with some new material, which I think would be great. Hopefully that's what we're going to do. But it's really a case of whether we've got time to do it, because we got the booklet to do, we've got the magazine, we've got so many other things we've got to do first. But I think we'll just about do it. But it's always by the skin of our teeth. It just also, if the only thing I'm worried about is to make sure that we get the zombie books in time if we're going to go to, because what we do, I don't know if you know this, but you probably do if you've got some of our books, is that one of the incentives we do for doing our own books is we put the names of the people who've pre-ordered early are in the book, which is, I think, quite a nice idea. Word of thanks to those people. They're actually in, their name is in the book for beforehand, and they also get a signed copy. I sign them so they can have a signed copy as well. So, and then they get them sent out straight away. They obviously get them earlier than anyone else. Also, people have been asking about the Carpenter book, and I said, well, we can't do it with that because the author's in America, so just can't do it. I'd have to do something like this is what happened when years ago. One of the first books we did was my Video Nasties book, and Ken, my partner, he said, you can sign them, can't you? And I said, well, how can I sign them? He goes, just sign a bit of paper and then I'll print it out and put it inside each one. And I went, that's not the same, is it? You photocopy my signature. And so people often said to me, I had some guy, in fact, so when the nice guy I saw, Richard, I think his name was, who I saw at an event I hosted for Misty Moon recently, and he said, "Can you sign my Video Nasties one book?" And I did sign it, and he said, "Yeah," because I was most disappointed because all I had was this little bit of paper with it. So he's held on to it all those years. Anyway, yeah. So anyway, so as I say, it's going to be a busy year. So there's a lot going on.
Definitely a lot going on. Darkfest, this year's Darkfest sounds jam-packed.
Yeah.
It's a shame I can't get down. As I said to you last time, I bought tickets for last year's for Lanier, but I was let down with somebody to go. But it doesn't look like I'd be able to have got into the Genesis anyways, which is a shame. But hey, it's one of those things. Shit happens, so to speak.
Well, hopefully your situation will improve, Paul, and you'll be able to get down here.
Oh, I'd love to come down. I mean, I'm going to for the Love of Horror this year.
Mm-hmm.
So I've got my tickets all bought. Everything's hotels booked. Everything's sorted. It's costing an arm and a leg.
Yeah. I think Linnea's going this year, isn't she? And Michael Berryman.
Michael Berryman's there.
I think Linnea's going. She's got the same agent. Here's the thing, right? We were going to have Michael Berryman this year, and I planned that, but then I thought, well, she's going to For the Love of Horror. I know a lot of people. I know a lot of people just go to that because it's up north more, but I just thought, well, I don't really want to have Michael Berryman if he's just been over to do, another one just not so long back. People that might put them off. I don't know, probably wouldn't. But and again, it's an expense, because we have to weigh it up with, I'm trying to, because obviously every guest costs us money to, get along there anyway, and so we try and weigh it up that we just think, well, if we're spending the most on Adrian King as it will be this year, and then spending slightly less on, although still quite a lot because Cynthia, who Sarah Keller in The Beyond, she's coming over with her husband, so we're putting them both up for a couple of nights. So there's that as well. The rest of them, though, guests might be travelling from, I mean, someone, I think, Susan Penhaligon hopefully is local, but I think there's some talk about she might be moving further afield. So if that's the case, we'll have to spend a bit more to get her there. It's tricky, really, and For the Love of Horror, I mean, I don't know, have you been there before?
No, this will be my first time, to be honest.
They've obviously got quite a bit of money behind them. Is it Showmasters does that, or is it?
I'm not sure who does it, to be honest. It's at Bowlers, which is quite a big place in Manchester.
If you got, I mean, there's two things. In a lot of cases, I think some of the people who run these events actually own the venue, which means you can do a lot more. I don't know how much they guarantee a lot of sometimes these events work by the organisers guaranteeing a sum that the guests will make. So it's tough for us to do a guarantee because we haven't got thousands of people coming. We've got 400 people coming that we know. We don't know how much each person's going to spend. But if each person spends, if on
Yeah,
average, not everybody's going to want every person's autograph. And we had, I think Zora Karova we had over, and I don't know if this is true or not, but somebody says she made about 900 quid or something. But then that's because she kept going off, going out, and she was never there when I was looking to see where she was. But Ruggiero made about 2 grand.
yeah.
And to be honest, that's not bad. They're getting their flight paid for over, and they're getting put up and taken out for a meal the night before, curry. Can't ever complain about that. And and also going home with 2,000 in their pocket. It's all right. That's okay. And I'm pretty sure, certainly, we may have made a huge amount more than that. I remember Ian Ogilvy. We didn't even announce him because he was last minute. But I said, we'll offer, because I like to offer a value. If anyone turns up last minute, they can come in. And he did extremely well because me and Kevin saw him at the film fair the day before, no, week before, day before, anyway, sometime before. And we were saying, we'll enjoy this a lot more. And he did. He loved it. He loved it. He even went in to watch a bit of himself on screen in Witchfinder General. So that was great. So anyway, going forward though, we got some good guests. Again, this is something I've been talking. Stuart, my friend Stuart, is a very good friend with Lynn Lowry, so she might be a guest next year for Shivers or something. And we have other people that we've been chatting to. Francesca Ciardi, she's really nice. She was in a Cannibal Holocaust, and she'd be happy to come over, I'm sure. We've been debating whether to get over this year as well or not, but we're going to see how when we reach our. I'm quite confident at the moment as it stands. We're hovering around 300 ticket sales mark, which is good for us anyway. And we've still got. Where are we? Not into October yet, so we've still got a good month, 6 weeks left of ticket sales to do. So I'm hoping that because a lot of people will leave it to the last minute, and so I'm hoping that we'll hit our target. And I think also I'm pretty confident that probably catch a few people out on the day as well if they haven't got their ticket, their badges with them. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, it's going to be. It's just trying to keep it comfortable, And what else is nice is although I've got, we're showing films all day long, we are hoping to be able to slip in a few short little teasers for stuff. My good friend Tony Marden and his Witches of the Sands, which is you spoke to Tony, didn't you, and Lauren? Have you spoken to Tony?
What's Tony? Tony's legend.
Yeah, he's so funny.
It's taken forever to make. It's now finished, I believe.
Yeah, there's a rap party coming up, so we'll see. I can't wait to that. Tony. What I like is that Tony and Lauren met at Darkfest, so that's good. We can. I think Pauline Peart introduced them. That's something from what I understand. And they're great, and it's nice to see that coming along so well. And one thing I do say: don't show new films at Darkfest, but if we could show the premiere of Witches of the Sands, we would definitely show it because it's going to be such a mad bit of filmmaking that I just can't wait to see it on the big screen. And I get killed twice in it at least. And I get to act with Tris Thompson, who's another legend in our little world of horror. So it's going to be really good fun to sit down and watch that. I can't believe it. And Tony's given me some new clips from Witches, which I might be able to fit in. I'm sure I'll be able to fit in between films at at this event. The only sad thing is that we became very friendly with the Circus of Horrors, Dr. Hayes, who ran Circus of Horrors, and I said to him a couple of years back, I said, "Are you so I'm looking forward to seeing you at the event?" And he goes, "No, I won't be there. I've got stage 4 cancer." And I said, what? You know, he was going, yeah, I'm okay at the moment. He said, but, you know, he said, I'm not going to make old bones or whatever, something like that. And I said to him, well, I'm really sorry to hear it. And so they sent along their charming, you know, Anastasia, I think her name is, and the various girls to do a slimmed down version of Circus of Horrors. Well, this year I've been chasing them up, and now they've folded, which is sad. So they've been doing last few tributes to Hayes, and I'm very sad to hear that. And Yanni was saying to me, oh, she loved watching the Circus of Horrors. They're a big part of the entertainment that we have. So none of them this year, unfortunately, and just means now that we have to. I mean, I don't know. We don't need to. We've got no real cabaret act this year because in the first year or two, it was Robin Asquith doing his one-man show. I'm optimistic we can get other good stuff on there. It'd be nice to. At one point years ago, I did talk to Simon Boswell about coming along and doing something, you know, because he's a friend. But you know, it's not an important part of it. The whole thing is just a social gathering. We're not doing 2 days this year for the reason that Sam Irving instigated the 2 days last year because he wanted to have a Frankenstein the True Story screening, and that's such a long film, and we could only book the cinema for the morning because somebody else had it in the afternoon, so it wasn't really an ideal situation. And not only that, if we're doing a 2-dayer, it's very difficult to get people to come along for 2 days. Even our Hammer ladies don't want to come for 2 days.
Yeah.
And if you then said you're in that situation, then say, well, I tell you what, why don't you come on the Sunday only? And they'll go, well, why? No, why we want to come on the Saturday? Because they want to come on the day they figure will be the biggest day, you know. And I don't know, you know. So it's tough to do it over a 2-day. If I could work it out one year in signing up people that they will, and I can get an equal bill of great films and guests on both days, then yeah, we will do it for both days. But you know what? I think Paul, I think our event also is reasonably priced. I mean, 40 quid is not bad for a day of film.
Oh, that's.
I mean, I don't know what they charge for things like For the Love of Horror or anything like that, but you know, that you don't get films there though, do you? You just get in to get.
That's it. A standard day's 50 quid. And if you want to be in there early and all the rest of it, it's about 150.
Yeah, well, that's nothing wrong with that, and I don't know what. Yeah, but and also our event is one where we, you know, when you won't. Well, none of the guests are going to be asking like stupid money for autographs at our event, you know, and they will be happy to get selfies taken and stuff like that. I mean, to be honest, a lot of them I've seen getting selfies taken without even charging the people, you know. So it's a bit like that, you know, because they enjoy it. They get into the spirit of the event, and then they enjoy themselves so much that they by the end of the day they're walking around, you know, chatting to people as well, you know, which is fun. You must get down there sometime, definitely.
Well, I'm going to try to get down. We'll see what next year's like. Any plans for next year's yet?
Yeah, well, I said Stu, my friend Stu, and was friends Stu and Jen from Misty Moon. They made a film with Lynn Lowry years ago, and Lynn Lowry's a good friend of theirs. So I think Lynn Lowry, it would be a good guest because we could either show Shivers, we could show I Drink Your Blood. Oh no, is it? I Drink Your Blood. Yeah, that's the one with the hippies. She's in that, and all the Crazies, of course. She could show the Crazies, which is a good film, the Romero version. So she'd be good, and she looks great. You know, she's really good fun. And because I did meet her way before when they were making Ripper Tour or whatever it was that she was in. You know, it's possible we might. I mean, sometimes people just suggest people to me, and I go, they would be great if we could get them. So, for example, I really would like someone like Susan George would be good. I've been trying quite hard to get Susan George for this year, but that didn't work out. You know, there was, you know, I don't know who my ideal person would be, but there's sorry.
Jim Wynorski and Kelly Maroney, they've been dying to get over here to do conventions.
Who's the first one you mentioned?
Jim Wynorski, who directed.
Oh yeah, Jim. Yeah, Jim. Yeah, also a big pal of mine from the old days, Fred Olin Ray. I was talking to Fred about it. Fred would be great. Jim Wynorski would be great. Yeah, of course. Kenny Maroney, fantastic. I interviewed Catherine Stewart, Catherine Mary Stewart, some years ago. She. I mean, imagine getting her and what's her name over for Night of the Comet screening, and that would be nice. Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes, and also, here's somebody else, one of my top of my wish list as well. And she's my Facebook friend, and but it's like one of those things. She's not, I think I have talked to her in the past. I've interviewed loads of times. Is Sybil Danning, because Sybil Danning has got a lot of friends of mine. Obviously, Barbara Steele would be brilliant, wouldn't she? But I think everyone tells me no, don't go there because yeah, she's really good friends with David Del Val, another good friend of mine, and and he's known her for years, and I think it's probably one of those situations where people who know who you sometimes think, oh, they're a good friend of a friend of mine, so maybe they can ask on my behalf and all that. But I have had other people, not David, but other people say to me, well, yeah, but Barbara Steele can be a bit of a nightmare. And I think it's people who've tried to film her for extras on stuff. But
Yeah.
then somebody told me that about Linnea. Oh, it's really difficult dealing with her and her agent. But I think it's just how you go into it. We went into it well, and they both, her agent and her, were delighted in the end. But sometimes you can have a bad experience. It's like these things you hear, isn't it? Someone puts on there and says, "Can you tell me the rudest celebrity you've ever met?" And then they go, "Oh, so and so was horrible. He came in and I served him in the restaurant and he was abusive and." Chuck the food back at me. Yeah, I don't know, whatever. Or I went and asked him for an autograph and he told me to F off type thing, But then you can catch people on their days and that can happen. So you can't, say, one thing or another. And it's certainly true that most of the people, well, all the people we've met who have come to our festival have been delightful. We've not had one guest who's been a pain in the arse, really. And we did expect we might get one or two, but no, they've been all good. But you can see, because when I picked Ruggiero and Zora Karova up from the airport, I had to go to Stansted to pick them up, and I was not wearing a mask because it was just after COVID, and Zora got most upset because and everyone else was wearing masks. I said, no, we were made of stronger stuff in the UK, and she didn't find my sense of humour very appealing. But so I dropped her off. But after we took them out for a curry, and then they had it, for a drink and a curry, and then they went back to the hotel. The next day, had a great day, enjoyed it. Well, when I dropped them off at Gatwick afterwards, they were happy, very, very happy. But I remember Ruggiero saying to me, he just had a bad experience. He'd done an American thing, and it had been so badly organised that he was, he was just upset about it, really. But as I say, as long as our guests come along and they have a good time and they make a bit of money, then we've never had anyone refuse if we've asked them back. Anyway, that's true. I just find it sad now because a lot of my Hammer ladies I like. I mean, I like all my Hammer ladies to come back every year, but we were going to have Marianne Morris back this year again as well, because Marianne was from Vampires. But I think we're hoping, and this is something I'd hope to do next year, we were going to have Anulka over, who's the other vampire lady. So if we could reunite them for a vampire screening, that would be nice. Kevin reminded me that we had shown vampires before, but that was a long time ago. So we might just go for it. If we got the two girls there, I think that would be worth it. We could put on. I think that would go down extremely well. So let's see. Let's see what. But what's funny about having Caroline Munro there is that Caroline is. Have you seen Don't Open Till Christmas at all?
Yes. I hadn't watched it for years, and then I watched it as one of my Christmas horror films last year.
Yeah. Well, she does this cabaret number, doesn't she? In this great 80s outfit. It's so funny. I think she's going to want to watch that. And I noticed Caroline and her good friend Jane Crimin, who's her agent and I think they've known each other since school days. She she and, Caroline, all the other Hammer girls went home early a few years ago. Because our last film we showed was Faceless, Jess Franco's Faceless, and so she came back with Caroline because Caroline said I hadn't seen this film forever. I just want to see it on the big screen. So she wanted to actually go in and watch it on the big screen, which is great. Just nice to know that that you've got your guests and they could go home, because I mean we don't tell our guests how long they can stay. Mostly they stay much longer than you think they might. I think last year we had Linda Hayden went off about 4 o'clock or something like that, and but she'd booked a cab and she said to me, oh, she would have stayed longer. She enjoyed it and she would have stayed longer, but she'd booked a cab, and that was that. So, but she did very well as well. So I think this year I'm confident. I would say it's going to get better every year, but it's like anything else, like what we do with the magazine. We have to keep doing a good. If you suddenly do one that's not very good, the names aren't very good. I say this to Yanni, right? Because Yanni loves watching Strictly Come Dancing and things like that. Okay, and it might be hard to draw a correlation between Strictly Come Dancing and Darkfest, but it's not actually, because I sit there and I come in and all these, they do the opening music and these people spin out and do that and like that sort of stuff, all that rubbish, and I say, who's this? I've never heard this person, and I count down. I've heard like it's 12 people. I've heard like 2 of them. And then she'd go, no, but he was on Love Island. I said, well, I wouldn't have heard of him, would I? Because I don't watch that. But in the old days, celebrities used to be proper celebrities, And I've seen some events, and there was a thing I saw recently, okay, and I've got to say, my daughter Amber is a massive fan of David Lynch, right? Massive David Lynch fan. And so there was going to be a David Lynch festival. And she's going, oh, I might go to this because she could cover it for her. She does work for a, for online stuff, all kinds of online folks. And but then I'm looking at it and thinking, who have they got here? Have they got and the most, the most famous person was Dexter Fletcher, because he was in Dune for David Lynch. But no, I mean, if I was going to do a Twin Peaks or a David Lynch thing, I'd have to have some Twin Peaks stars. Where's Carl McLachlan? Where, if you want to start, because they were selling tickets for about 90 quid a time or something, and I was thinking, for that I'd go if it had somebody. If you got to have somebody big who people have heard of. Not somebody who, but there's room for all other events. This. Just also should mention about Spencer Hawken and his event, his horrific Romford event that the cinema sadly closed, and Spencer's going to stage it somewhere else in Romford, a pop-up cinema probably, something like, I don't know, somewhere like that. But if you've ever been to, well, I mean, you probably haven't because it's down in London again, but we've been to a few of those, and what I love about that, they're well attended, and last year he did a really good one, and he had tables and he had star guests, and he had Pauline Peart down there, people like that. He had a really good lineup, but his festival shows low budget films made by British and American, I guess, people, and they all come along, sit and watch the films with their mates, have a good time. Cinema is very, is a nice big cinema, but it's very cheap. But unfortunately, it's gone bust now, which is why they can't do that anymore. Not through anything that Spencer did, because he has a lot of. I think he's kind of organised with the Mercury Centre down there, which is, I don't quite know the full strength of it, but anyway, the cinema went bust for probably through mismanagement, but not Spencer's mismanagement, and so now he's trying to set it up again. He loves actually. He loves actually. Providing a showcase for these people who make these low budget movies, and where else do they get shown? Yes, some of them get shown at Fright Fest, but a lot of it is short films, and it's people who in the years to come will become very well-known filmmakers, I'm sure. But they've got to start somewhere. So it's really good that he's going to carry on doing doing this, we usually support it. We usually go down there, and it's the same. Also, there's another Southend on Sea that Paul Cotford does at the south at the Radisson there. I think it's in Radisson anyway, the hotel down there, and it's that's kind of early in the year as far as I can recall. And again, Paul, who does that, these people do it just for the sake of, because it's a great social event and it's getting everyone together. And I think so. If you look at all these events that there are going on, it shows we've got such a good horror community in the UK, and it's amazing, And I love I love the fact that the dark side has got can take responsibility for a lot of that, because we're always mentioning all these events. And it's like back in the day when video nasties were around. We were the ones advertising all those video nasties and bringing all the fans together, even though we were bringing some of them together with the police at the same time, unfortunately. But I mean, now obviously now we're living in a different world, but it's fantastic that we can, I love going to these events. Last night, tomorrow night we're going out with a bunch of friends called the Cads of Horror. I think I talked about them last time. So we're meeting up with Jeff Elsom, Jeff, sadly, as we speak, has been told that he's got to be off the booze for a while, which I want to see what Jeff off the booze is like. I don't know what it'd be like. I'm a bit scared actually already, but we'll see. But he'll still be going for a curry with him, and he'll still be out of control, no doubt, even without any drink inside him. But hopefully he'll be back on the beers by the time we get around to curry night at Darkfest. But we'll see. But anyway, yeah.
Organise a podcast with the Cads and the Gentlemen.
Yeah, well, that'd be
podcast. That'd be fun.
That would be fun. Look, the Gentlemen are an exclusive bunch. I mean, you got Eric McNaughton, of course. He's the biggest gentleman of them all. As I call him, Fred Astaire of horror. We call Eric, and he's always joined by Peter Fuller, another great guy. He does Vincent Price Walks. Peter, you probably met with these guys on your podcast. You got Jay Wilson. He calls himself Jay Wilson, but I have a suspicion that it's Wilson. But anyway, he's a talented guy. And we have Graham Humphries, of course, because Graham is a true gentleman. But Graham some of these guys can veer between the two. Al Friswell, he's a great guy, a great friend of ours, does animation, restores a lot of the models, the Ray Harryhausen models and stuff for the museum, for the Diana and Ray Association or whatever trust. So there's about 4 or 5 of the main ones there who go all the time to those events. And obviously me, sometimes Yanni, and sometimes my brother Sandy, and sometimes my daughter Amber as well will go along with her friend Ria. But it's generally quite a small gathering, those things. If you say the general hardcore members, and then mustn't forget Simon J. Ballard. Sorry, he's one of the Simon's a writer pal of ours. So there's probably, if you were to gather together the gentlemen, you could probably get away with about 6 people, myself included. But if you were to go to the Cads, for example, anyone who'll buy Jeff a beer is in. So he's the one who's saying. So sometimes we get these for the gatherings, right? For our gatherings, I'll go and people go, oh, so can't make it tonight, and I go, who is this person who can't make it tonight? Oh, he's so and so from such and such a thing, and I go, okay, Jeff, but I said, how many members have we got? And he's got about 33 members or something. And he'll go to places and invite people, but I'll never see those people. But when we go to these events, like we got this one tomorrow night, Jeff will be there, Yanni will be there, Al Friswell will be there, and I think Tony and Lauren will be there. So that would be fun. And hopefully Stuart and Jen will be there, because they could go to the Cads as well. And so there's a Jay might be. No, I can't think he goes to that one. But there's a guy called Stefan Martini, and I don't still don't quite know what Stefan he does for a living, but he turns up, and we all have a good time. We all have a chat. I think Mark. Yeah, I don't know. But I mean, Celine, I think is one of our, one of our people who sometimes goes. you know, it's a broad. I couldn't name every member. Let's put it that way. I can more easily name every member of the Magnificent Seven or the Seven Dwarfs. And I could name all of the Cads. But you know, we have a good time. But the only thing I think is a bit sad about the Cads sometimes is that because there's so many people there, you can't always mingle. Particularly if you're in a, you know, you've got to find a big table. So we meet in the West End for that, and then we go off to a. Well, if I'm organising it, sometimes it'll be a curry usually, but with Jeff organising it, it'd be a Chinese. I think we're going down to Chinatown this
The
time.
other food than curry.
Yeah, it's either curry is normally a gentleman's night out. Well, that shouldn't be, should it? Really, it should be something more exclusive. But if I'm surprised, at least it's not pie and mash with Jeff organising it. So there's something. But I'm sure he will eventually get us down to pie and mash. But no, it's good to have a night out with the Cads and the gentlemen, really. And you know, and we always have a lot to talk about, and you know, it's always interesting to get you know, to get together with people who are like-minded and enjoy, you know, I mean, I'm probably getting into trouble for people I haven't mentioned, but it's the way it goes because, you know, it's off the top of your head. People you might talk to first. But, yeah, sometimes I find myself talking to somebody and I've had the whole conversation with him and Jeff's neglected to tell me who this person is in the first place and where he's met them. But there is a story, and Jeff will probably get annoyed about me about this, but he denies it, but I'm sure it's true. And I remember it. He introduced some guy. We were at Dartfest. We were going to see a showing of Stuart's Pareidolia, and I went into the pub, which is probably was going at Fright Fest, and he goes, oh, meet my mate so and so, because it's always Jeff's always my mate so and so. Oh dear. Anyway, goes, this is my mate Zozo. He's in the Cads now. And I went, and this bloke was just nodding at me. He seemed, I thought, okay, right, okay, what is that? Anyway, so went to watch Pareidolia with Jeff, came back out, went up, and we were walking around. I was chatting to, I think, Dominic Brunt, because he was there at the bar, and Dominic's a lovely bloke. And I came out, and then suddenly I went over to Jeff, and I said, "What's that guy's name again? Who's in the Cads?" And he goes, "Oh, forget him. He's not in the Cads anymore." And I mean, he only joined it before he went to see Pareidolia. And that was only about 20 minutes ago, 25 minutes ago. And he goes, "Oh, miserable sod. I bought him a beer and he refused to buy me one back." So that's it. He didn't buy you a beer, so he's not in the Cads anymore. I think he gave me some other excuse later, but I prefer to think that it was because he wouldn't buy Jeff a beer.
Yeah.
Now, no one's allowed to buy Jeff a beer, so there'll be probably about another 30 or 40 Cads after tomorrow night. So I don't know what's going to be happening there, but we'll have to book a Cads festival, I suspect, in the end. But anyway, I said to Jeff, we should kind of like get to a stage when we go, right, that's a, you know, an exclusive membership after that, you know. Otherwise, it's going to be like the Freemasons, isn't it, or something like that? I don't know. Turn out like that. We'll have to walk in with our trouser legs rolled up.
Oh, brilliant. But no, I'd love to get the core Cads and the core gentlemen.
Yeah.
Podcast.
We'll sort that out. You've probably done a lot of the gentlemen. Have you not done Eric?
I've done Eric. We're going to do a Trog special, me and Eric as well, because we know how much Trog. I've had Simon on a couple of times. I've had a video done by Graham, and Graham's coming on the podcast as well. I've spoke to him. And yeah, they're the only ones I've done.
Have you not done Peter Fuller?
No, I haven't done Peter Fuller.
Peter Fuller is great. You know, Peter's a real talent, and he does the Vincent Price cookbook and things like that. And he'd be good. He does his walks and things. He's a true gentleman horror. Yeah, he's one of the original. There's a guy also a nice guy called Stephen Jacobs. So because a lot of these people, right, when we first started it, and we talk about the having the you know, starting doing the slaughters and things. Dave Swift was there, who's in Jules Holland's band, lovely guy, but he's been touring so much that he hasn't been along for ages. Also Stephen Jacobs, who's very much a Carlisle person, like Dave is. He hasn't been for a while. He reminded me that I think he was one of the ones who initially mooted the idea of doing the, I think it was Stephen Jenkins, that he was, who originally thought of the Slaughters before we took it forward. Because I mean, really, although the Slaughters is a gentleman conception, if you like, we're the ones who pay for Darkside. Us, we at Darkside pay for the statuettes and stuff to be made up. Although it's the guy who I get his wrong name right. I think it's Stephen Thompson. I think it's Steve Thompson who does it. Anyway, he's a very talented sculptor who does these things, and they're good. Have you seen? Do you want to see a slaughter? I can get one.
Yeah, because obviously, if you ever want to give one to a podcast, he's gone.
Now this is a slaughter.
Oh,
now, bear in mind, right? This. Can you see the resemblance? Anyway, this is a slaughter. And what we do before, so this is just a one we did as a test. So what happens is we will get an engraved plate put on. So it's got this higher, it's got a bigger base, but it's a really good, it's a really nice thing to have. Quite solid, and it's fun. It's just fun to give away.
Give one to a podcast. You
never know. You never know your luck. You never know your luck.
We've only ever won one award, but it was a good one. We won contributions to the city of Carlisle, and we got a little award for it from the mayor of Carlisle.
Right. Yeah. Well, I've only ever got one award, best shoplifter, but I didn't actually win that one.
Best shoplifter, that's brilliant. God, Darkside should have won some awards over the years because it's a superb magazine. And if not, very, very shocked.
Well, we had we had problems years ago, which I'm not going to go into here. But it was, a lot of it was down to me being a bit gullible with my partner Ken at the time, trying to save money. So this is something that again a lot of people, it's an ancient history, okay, with most people, but there are always some who will go, but they're not really people who buy our magazine anyway. They're not people who come to our events anyway, because our friends who we support everybody in the industry now, we always have done, really, but it's a situation where, like, for example, the Rondo Awards, a classic example, because we don't sell. I mean, we still sell a lot of magazines in America, but we're not an American magazine. I don't think the Rondos are necessarily, because people in the UK have won Rondos and continue to do so, and deservedly so. But I think in the scheme of things, there are a lot of people who are on, like, the Monster Film Board website, for example, who just don't buy magazines anyway. A lot of people say, even though I was answering something online today, one of my mates mentioned, you never see any magazines around anymore because they don't make money. Well, that's not true, because ours does make money. Otherwise, we wouldn't be doing it for any reason. It's like people said when we first started doing Darkness, you're not going to make money. You're going to lose money. But we know we do, because we do a professional job. And also, it depends. When you do anything like this, any proper business, you either do it properly or you don't do it properly. So, for example, we're up against, the reason that Darkside is the biggest selling magazine in the world, very simply, because we publish 12 issues a year, and books go with it. Now, there are hardly any other, and our company is a publishing company with Infinity as well, publishes 24 magazines a year. So 24 magazines a year. And so, that's obviously a successful company, because it means we spend, our turnover is well over £500,000 a year, and that's a business. That's not a tiny little company. And so, going out into America, where they charge you these ridiculous transportation costs and all that, luckily we can afford to do it, because the American money is just the gravy on top. In other words, so because we have to wait ages to get the American money anyway, it comes back. So you either do it, but if you're doing anything, you want people to take you seriously, you've got to keep doing it like your podcast, for example. If you did, I'll do one a year, 2 a year, 6 a year,
Yeah.
then you haven't got a build up of what you've done. If you're going to do something, do it professionally. you know. Um, so even though, I mean, there's a magazine called Scream, which is out in shops, same as us. And we only wish them the best. I think we don't want to be the only horror magazine in shops, really, because I think we want to make sure that there's a place where we can be put, where there's other magazines of that type. Otherwise, where are we going to get put? But I think also, they do fine. They do 6 issues a year. That's fine. Go on there. But that's we started that way. But when we started selling so many copies, we thought we need to do 12, and that's what that. I mean, we did 13. And so we have to do that. So it's just like so we know every time, and bear in mind, we're out there for a lot less time this way. If we went back to bi-monthly, you'd sell more copies, because it's just the way it works, because you're on the shelf for a lot longer. But it's been taking us a long time to get to this stage now where we just know we're and also people in we deal with people in America who are very friendly with us. Our friends at My Movie Monsters, and there's a couple of other guys over there have mags from us, and we ship them out. Ironically, they get them before ours. They get them there before people in the UK do, because the post is rubbish in the UK. It's better over here to send it by FedEx. But I think, in the long run, any business, it's nice, it's great to be, certainly in my time of life, to be doing what I really like doing, because I don't need to do it really. We've got a comfortable lifestyle. I could just be, and in that respect, maybe I can understand someone like David Colton, who does the Monster Film Ball. He probably doesn't need to do what he does, but he probably loves doing it, and that's why you do it. And obviously, you don't do anything if you're going to lose a lot of money. Nobody is. I mean, I was talking. Another guy who I should mention when it comes to UK festivals is Marcus Lewis and his wife Tracy. They are such a lovely couple, and they've been doing Weekend of the Dead for a long, long time. And we had around here earlier in this year. We went to their place for a barbecue. Really, really nice people, and they've got Weekend of the Dead coming up soon now. I don't know the exact dates, but they have. Marcus is just an absolute fan of all the Romero films, and in his little man cave, he's got a poster of I think it's Dawn of the Dead, signed by almost everybody in it, even probably the bloke who made the tea and swept the floor, and what I mean, you've got everyone's signature on there. And I think over the years, as I say, they've struggled a lot of the time because it costs them so much to get these people over. So they basically put in their profits from the last one into the next one, into the next one, into the next one, into the next one. And it becomes a thing that it's a labour of love, but you have there is a point in which, and I did say to Marcus, what you should do is start to broaden it a bit. So maybe get people like Ian McCulloch down and do some Fulci people and all that sort of stuff. And I think that's what he needs to do. But I always wish him the best, because I hate to see anyone, struggle to do this event. And that's why the whole Romford thing is a bit of a shame, a real big shame. Because otherwise it becomes a domain of maybe the big time people who have got the money to put into it, but it becomes a bit soulless, like a massive film fair, that it's just regimented, and it's like thousands of people there, and fine. But our little events, and and of course the Manchester Film Festival, fantastic films, because people like Darryl Buxton, who edits really Eric's mag, and Tony Earnshaw, and people like that, Stephen Laws, just like those guys who I know who've been involved with that over the years. And when Gil died, who was running that, Gil was always saying to me, I'm gonna give up, but it becomes so much part of their life that they can't do it. And so this year again, they've got another good lineup, and I've never been there to that festival, but I must do at some stage. just as I must go back to the Gothic Film Society again, because I was there when it first started, and it's still going, I believe. So, but there's always, you should interview those guys if they're around, the Gothic Film Society guys. I'll have to mention those because you know, but there are so many people like that who, and your podcasts, you know, obviously are a great part of bringing people together as well. So, you know, it's very nice that you know, you continue to show interest, and you know, particularly as I've been on just recently. So I'm just waffled on again for another hour.
No, hey, the conversation I have with you is absolutely superb. I thoroughly enjoy chatting because you're just a wealth of information and thought. Great, Alan. Honest to God, it really is. And I've not had to ask much. I've just let you go, and you've been. I mean, I don't. If you're willing to keep on talking, you know, I'm up for. I think we've been on for about an hour and a half. But that's fine by me. But no, I mean, if you know all these guys, I'd love for you if you could put me in contact with a few of them. Because
I can certainly do that. I mean, I think that with people, you should really definitely put Peter on your list. But the Gentleman of Horror would be a fun one because you know, our conversations are always hilarious, really. So yeah, definitely should do that.
well, if you can organise as a Gentleman of Horror,
Okay.
get it, and then I'll get an invite sorted out. I'd love to do a Gentleman of Horror.
Yeah.
Definitely, because as I say, I know a few of them. I've chatted to a few of them. So
I think if I was to say Gentleman of Horror, right, I would say you'd be talking about Simon again. You've had him, but Sarah Simon again, Eric Graham definitely. These are the probably hardcore. Me, Peter Fuller. I'm trying to think. There's who normally vets. I mean, Al Friswell's a lovely guy, but I don't think he's really. He's more into the animation and models. So he's not really, and he comes on occasionally, not all the time though. Maybe Jay because he's an interesting guy. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. There's probably it could easily put together half a dozen gentlemen to do a.
no problem to do that. That'd be good crack.
We could talk. And they can talk about because I didn't create the Gentleman of Horror. It was already in existence when I found out
Right.
yeah, so I didn't want to go. And you know, the thing is, Gentleman Horror. See, we meet at Victoria in this pub called the Jugged Hare, and then and we have our little private seat. It's always asked we have to book it. And the other day the Cads went. No, not Cads. Sorry, we went out with Al Friswell, me and Yanni, and we met him at Victoria, and the place was heaving. And it's because Eric normally very sensibly books the in very sensibly books the table, you know, beforehand. But we hadn't booked it on this occasion. But and so we have our little area where we sit, and then we just go around the corners to a curry house. But it's always well planned, and I think Kevin. Oh, what am I saying? I mean, I mean, you'd be in trouble here. But Kevin Coward is my son. Is a Gentleman of Horror as well. As obviously he and I go. So Kev might join in our little conversation because he's been with me on most of these. He's a lot of time he can't make it because he's too busy because he works on all sorts of other things as well as our bags. A lot of the time, it's just you know, he's got problems at home or something setting up. As he's had a lot of you know, issues to deal with there. But I mean, I'm not, you know, I can always make it out to a night out, you know, unless I'm under arrest for something.
See, this is the thing. Stuck in Carlisle. I'd love to be involved in all this down south, but being stuck up here in Carlisle, there's nothing.
There must be something going on in Carlisle, yeah, for the horror front. I don't know. Yeah.
Me with my screenings, that's it. That is honest to God it. I screen a film once a month, and that's it. That's the only thing in Carlisle horror wise. It's one of those places.
Oh, that's a shame, isn't it? Really, but you know, I mean, there will be people there, but you know, they probably just haven't discovered them yet. That's all.
Probably not. That'll be it. They're not the posts.
I know.
But
well, you know, it's a thing. But I mean, you know, but that's the beauty of having podcasts and things that you can reach out to people. You know, back in the early days when I was first discovering horror, I didn't know anybody in my whole environment who was a horror fan. No, I mean, not a fan. I mean, I wouldn't say they wouldn't watch a horror film if it was on. And my mates would always come along, yeah, let's go and watch a horror film. But 9 times out of 10, they would prefer to see the latest blockbuster film or a western or a war film or
Yeah.
something like that. That would be their preference rather than coming along and spending, seeing some obscure little horror movie. I remember took one of my mates to Brighton and showed him the Mad Doctor Blood Island trilogy, and he got most upset. He said, "These are absolute shit, these films." And I said, "Yeah, but I enjoyed them." He said, "Oh, don't take me to see anything like that again." But there certainly the Gothic was a revelation to me when I first started going, and this was late '60s when it just started. And not only because I could see all these films I've seen pictures of in books and magazines like Famous Monsters, but there was this huge bunch of people there that were all, and they weren't all old people. And there was Bob Monkhouse was one of the chairmen, and Christopher Lee, Terence Fisher. You see some quite famous people there, and but there was also the only thing I will say is that there weren't many schoolboys like me there. They were older boys, if you like, probably in their 30s or something like that. And even Des Skin was then 20 something, wasn't he? I don't know, whatever he was. So I was one of the few schoolboys there. So I still felt, oh, well, I'm a bit of a misfit here because I'm the youngest person in the room. Now I'm the oldest person in the room.
Something, you've got such a wealth of information and stories. It's fantastic talking to you, Alan. It really is. Um, and that's why I've probably pestered you a little bit the last couple of weeks. Do you want to have a chat? Do you want to have a chat? I feel like I have pestered you, to be honest.
No, it's
I was,
fine.
I know you were like, I'm just worried about your health. I'm like, I'm fine. All right. I'm all right. It's just my leg.
Mm.
But yeah, no, it's fabulous talking to you guys because the stories you have and the information about these films and people is just, it's fantastic.
It's what is nicest is, as you say, over the years getting to meet people. um I've been lucky enough to interview lots of famous people, not so many in the horror field as I'd like to have done, but certainly beating them at our festivals is good. But I never, I mean, some really big horror stars I'd love to have met, like Vincent Price and Christopher Lee, Peter Cushing. But I just think that the nicest aspect is meeting people such as yourself, and some of the people that also do a similar thing to this, who are fans, who are very much, I mean, we talk about some of the guys we meet that I love to meet at our festivals. People like Sing Lal, who's done the video shop Tales of Terror. He's just a gem of a guy, and Tommy Lee Rutter. Tom's a great guy. A lot of these people that they devote a lot of their life to horror. And you know what, and the company, people when people take stalls at our event, there's Graham Lloyd from Film Treasures, and he has Tom working on his stall a lot of the time. And I, on my way, is Bruce Campbell, not the one from Evil Dead, but Bruce is an old friend, used to work in the cinema store. So those cinema store guys, I used to go in there, meet up with him. Bruce used to work there. Neil Palmer, who will takes a stall at our place. Paul McAvoy, of course. And I think Paul's got a podcast. What is this podcasty thing going with Jake and Aaron Truss, I think, which which he was telling me about, which where they're interviewing all kinds of
That's a video.
yes, yeah, I can't remember what it's called now. Yes, it's did you say something? Just do you know which?
Is it called Straight to Video?
No, it's, oh gosh,
That
I'm
one.
going to get annoyed with that because I've forgotten what it is. But anyway, I mean, like, but it's so good to be able to call people, and all these people, like, that's really good friends, and we do go out, we do knock about with things. One of the things that we got apart from getting on well with Jake, who's very funny, we also get on well with Jenny and David, his parents, and we're going out to dinner with them in Richmond in about a month, about 3 weeks time, and Jake, of course. So
Yeah.
you kind of meet. It's like anything else. You meet people, then you get friends. Which is the whole concept of the gentleman and the cats of horror. You meet people. You've got a shared interest, and in the end, that's all that counts. Because whether you get people being mean spirited about what you do, or maybe envious of what you do because they want to do the same thing themselves, the best thing is the people who appreciate the fact that, I mean, I'm not mean spirited about any competitors of ours or anything like that. In fact, we try and do as much as we can to help out, and if someone's got a project they're doing, they send me the information. We're happy to put it in the magazine. We're happy to promote other people's stuff. Obviously, there's a limited space you've got on that, but I think that's the thing. I hate all this mean spiritedness, and that you often find on social media and where people just want to argue with you about stuff or want to put, nasty things on there for no reason, because maybe it makes them feel better. I don't know, but we certainly had that on social media for some time. But that's it. And because the real thing is that yourself, I know this is not meeting up in person, but if you do meet someone in person, and then you can gauge more what they actually are like, rather than reading a post they might have made about something or other,
Yeah.
that you don't agree with, I mean, I don't know if I told you this last time. I made some comment about how I quite enjoy watching Love Thy Neighbour, and that nearly got me cancelled by a lot of Infinity readers. And I'm saying, I appreciate the fact it's not a thing now, but it's back in the day I enjoyed it, and and it's like, because it was a comedy of its time. And I think what I was trying to say was it was a time when people were actually not scared to even mention stuff they watched in case it upset people, and that's it, and it's not. I'm not advocating anything like that, and I know that time has moved on, but you just, I find it a bit scary. You can't even say that stuff without people jumping down your throat and saying, let's, cancel this person's magazine or something like that, because it's ridiculous.
This podcast is very non-woke, non-cancel culture, and not PC, to be fair. I like all the same stuff that you like. I watched Love Thy Neighbour as a kid, and still into the 90s, me and my mates would be watching on video, laughing at it. It was funny.
That's it. In the end, in the end, is if it's funny, isn't it? And and it's like what we watched when we were growing up. Well, certainly what I watched when I was growing up was things like On the Buses. I still love On the Buses.
Same.
And Love Thy Neighbour. Apart from Love Thy Neighbour, there was also Till Death Us Do Part was obviously wouldn't be allowed on the air nowadays. And Mind Your Language, things like that. Of course, yes, they do change. You can't chuck those films out the window, or those TV shows and films out the window now. You just got to realise that's the time they were made in. But I think it's a sad reflection on. I mean, that's why. Yes, I am a bit non-PC in my editorials for my magazines, but I'm still a little bit cautious, because I know, because it's a fine line to tread between, saying, I mean, there was one thing when I kind of overstepped it was years ago when we were going through Brexit. I made a Brexit joke, and some guy got so upset about it that he wrote in and said, I got 2 letters actually, people saying they cancelled their subscription or something like that because of me making a Brexit joke. And I thought, really?
Well, talking of, when Sean Locke died, I posted up that joke of him saying about throwing Margaret Thatcher at something. I can't remember the full joke now, but I posted it up, and Jim Wynorski unfriended us because they all like Thatcher, which I was like, what?
Well, I've my joke, my Brexit joke was actually was completely. And in fact, it was something that probably most readers would have agreed with. So, but there's always someone out there, and you think, well, okay, if that's it, if you're a horror fan and you can be, if you can't like the magazine that much, if you because I do find, and this is the thing you find, there are a lot of people who just jump in on other people's, like if you do a post or something, they jump in and they just try and start an argument. It's like, and there are people who can start an argument in an empty room, and they seem to be out there in you know in force somewhere, because in the end it's like, I mean, when this guy was going about trying to, you know, some lunatic guy was trying to, again, was so offended by Love Thy Neighbour that he said, you know, stop buying this magazine and all that. And I was thinking, why do you, you know, what's that got to do with anything in your world? You know, I don't buy, you know, I don't want to buy you know, if I want to buy something, I'll buy it. I won't have anyone tell me not to buy it. I mean, I wouldn't have anyone tell me don't go buying Harry Potter books anymore, because, you know, but my kids always bought them, and they always probably will do, because of this council thing coming down on the head of J.K. Rowling for her views. But, you know, it's not about that, is it? I mean, it's about, you know, I don't care, for example, I've said this in the past, if someone says to me, oh, so-and-so was not a very nice person in real life, a director or a composer, or something like that, it would not stop me. If I like their music, you know, it would not stop me watching their films. Are people not going to watch like Pulp Fiction anymore because of or any of those Miramax movies because of what happened to Harvey Weinstein? No, they're not, because they're not going to be, and it's not, and they should not either, you know. And it's not me, it's not condoning that person's behavior, far from it. It's just saying that there are things, I mean, and someone told me a story recently, and I can't remember who it was now, but it was funny. But somebody was dealing with a company that were going to put out, I think, yeah, I think I vaguely remember who told it to me. Somebody, I've got friends who do commentaries on you know, Blu-rays and stuff. I do some myself, but they were saying they were in touch with this company, and the company asked him to do to maybe think about a commentary for a film they were releasing, one of those Amicus ones. Might have been Just for Fun, or one of those films. One, do you remember? You remember Amicus did they started off by doing pop films, like, you know, with pop acts. And this person, who's a friend of mine, who's very knowledgeable about stuff like this, he said, "You can't release that." And they said, "Why?" And he said, "Because it's got Jimmy Savile in it." And this is an American company. They were going to release that, I think, in America. And he said, "Well, why? Who's Jimmy Savile?" You know, and he just said, "Just look it up." You know, and so I think the release got cancelled because of that. But otherwise, as America, they probably would have gone out and put it out there, and suffered. Because we know that everything involving him has been blanked out. Maybe that's one of the occasions where you could possibly agree that they're right, you know, not giving him because he was a vile man. But it's certainly a tough one, you know. And I say, I think one of the reasons why we do well with Dark Side and Infinity is we are appealing to a nostalgic, you know, viewer who will not mind us writing about old programs that are not, you know, maybe that are not seen today. And let's face it, a lot of those programs have not been cancelled. They're on YouTube. You know, you could watch the unexpurgated 40 Towers, and you're on it, and the unexpurgated carry-ons and all that, if you want to find them. Or if not, you've probably got them in your collection. I mean, my daughter Amber has just done she's just done an interesting piece about how how physical media is coming back in fashion, with HMV opening up again and stuff like that. And one of the things that's interesting, and I did a little bit in there for her and said that, you know, if you want to get proper, you know, things that are uncut, then you're more likely to find them on physical media than you are on streaming, as they start cutting out things, particularly, you know, and this goes for Bond films and everything, you know, even big films. And secondly, you know, you can find stuff that there's a lot of stuff that just gets delicately taken off the air, if you like.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, but we were just talking the other day about Tropical Thunder. Do you remember that film with Ben Stiller?
Great film.
I've got that on, but I don't know whether they would show that, because it's blackface and it's all kinds of stuff going on in that film now. No, it's an old one, but so, and so it goes that there are a lot of these films that sometimes, if you have physical media, that's the only way you're actually going to keep them. Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that everything gets cancelled, I think someone has to flag it up before, or they have to have complaints about it. But sometimes, as I say, so physical media. I often find myself thinking, oh, I wouldn't mind watching that film, and I go looking for it on Just Watch or something, and it's just not on there. So
No.
and I, oh, I've got a copy of that. I think I've had it look recently. There's a couple of films that I've watched like that. One was Cisco Pike, which is an old Gene Hackman movie, which I hadn't seen for a while. And then there was The Laughing Policeman with Walter Matthau, this film I like. And there's a whole bunch of films like that, 70s movies that I couldn't find probably if I looked online. And look at the good work being done by the likes of Powerhouse and
Yeah.
Powerhouse Indicator, and even Arrow, and some of the more obscure companies now that are putting these things out. Severin putting amazing stuff out. And just a chance to see these things, not only, and also, of course, with physical media, you get, you might think, oh, that one is one of my favorite films. It's coming on streaming tonight. I'll watch that. You watched it, that's the end of it. You've got the physical media. Oh, you've got 6 hours of extras on this. I can listen to a commentary. I can listen, I can see making of. I can look at some stills. I can look at posters. I can do that. So
Yeah.
that's why physical media is a worthwhile thing, and it will carry on, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, I'm a big supporter of physical media. I'm still collecting VHS. Finally got all my nastiest photos together on my phone. So I've got all this. I've got full 72 with only two bootlegs because they're just way too expensive. Beast in Heat and Devil Hunter. You know what I mean? You're looking at over a grand now for Devil Hunter.
And yes, I mean, yeah. See, here's a classic example, because that's not a very good film, but I know it's rubbish, but it's sometimes it's just like, I've got this film, and there's a new set. I think Vinegar Syndrome in America have just done this. I must get hold of a copy of it, actually. They've just done it. It's called Cruel Britannia,
Yeah.
and it's got Craze, and it's got Penny Gold, and it's got Crucible of Terror, and the funny thing about that, I mean, I love Crucible of Terror, and I also Craze is just brilliant. I haven't seen Penny Gold for a long time, but it's Jack Cardiff, so I know it'll be fun to watch again. But that's very reasonably priced, and they've really done a good job on it, from what I understand. So I said to Rick, I've just said to Rick actually, because I said he hasn't seen Rick Melton, so I said to him, we've got a great feature on the making of Craze coming up. So he said, I've never seen it, so I've had to send him my copy of it so he can draw Jack Palance and Julie Edge and that Chuku, the scary voodoo god, for our upcoming cover. Yeah, I mean, as you say, as collectors, we sometimes know that the films that we might have to pay the most for are sometimes the shittiest movie. So that's that. But unfortunately, it's just like but if you've got a copy of Devil Hunter, I bet Mark Morris has, for example, then great. Oh, hello. Hello.
This is Emily.
This one, sorry.
This is Emily.
Oh, Emily. Hi, Emily. How are you?
A bit good. So sorry. I had a problem. I had to wear these shoes because my other ones were broken.
Oh no, Mummy's got you a new pair. Right, I'll speak
to you. The same one as the old one.
Okay, well I'll speak to you after this, my little ninja.
Hey, I'm not.
You were a little ginger ninja.
Ginger ninja. Okay. Well, should we wrap up now? Because I think you've got bit of family business to do, and I suppose I better do some work.
Well, yeah, let's wrap it up then. It's been an absolute pleasure as always, Alan. And I'm sure we'll have you back on either by the end of the year or beginning of next at some point to talk about maybe one of the books that's coming out.
Yeah. Okay. Either that, or else I'll be joining you with the gentleman for a session.
Oh, that would be definitely get that organised, and we'll have the gentleman on with yourself, obviously. and that'll be good crack. I'm looking forward to that.
Okay.
I see your photos put up about the gentleman, and it's always, why isn't there anything like this up here? But
tomorrow night you'll probably see a few cads of horror photos. So yeah.
Oh, all right then. So I'll say goodbye to everybody. If you hang on just after, then I'll have a quick crack with you. So thank you, Allan, for coming on. Absolute pleasure as always. The legendary Allan Bryce from Dark Side Magazine, Dark Fest, Infinity Mag, you name it. Allan's done it, it seems. It's been a pleasure having you back on the show.
It's been my pleasure. My pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
So good night from me and good night from Allan.
Good night. Good night.